Hey guys, my name is Scott. I'm a musician and I'm not obsessed with my tone. In fact, it actually ranks 6th on my list when I'm looking at new gear. I personally am more interested in 1, is it usable? 2, does it make the show better? 3, does it make the show easier? 4, features. 5, price. And then 6th is the tone. I do want to clear up 3 things right off the bat with this video. First, I still want my tone to sound good and usable. I do not want my tone to sound bad. Second, I still have my favorite sounds for guitars, speakers, albums, microphones, and stuff like that. And third, I am primarily a live musician. I can see why studio musicians and engineers and stuff like that are more obsessed with getting a good tone. But as a full-time musician, I make my living doing live shows almost primarily. So to all the thumbnail commenters who are only commenting on the thumbnail and didn't make it 20 seconds into the video, those are 3 things I wanted to clear up right away. But to me, once my tone is good and usable, I'm happy with that, and I'm more interested in other things. The reason why I'm making this video is I do a lot of gear reviews on my channel. And if you've watched any of my videos before, you know that I've always said, if it sounds good, use it. That's always been my tone philosophy. I think it's time to go into a little bit more detail on that than just that one sentence that I use all the time in my videos. Plus, now you can see where I'm coming from as someone who reviews gear and see if it applies to you in your situation as well. I've been playing music for more than 20 years, and I've been a full-time musician for more than 10 years. And I just don't obsess about my tone. I used to, for sure, but over the years, I just find myself caring about these other things way more than I care about the tone. And whenever I geek out with other musicians and sound guys and music gear nerds like myself, anytime that someone else starts talking about the tone, I do find myself just kind of zoning out and just being like, oh, cool. When they tell me about the features and how it works and how it makes the show easier and better, that's where I'm interested in. And I think that's going to come across in my YouTube gear reviews. So I think it's worth going over. And also, I do want to be clear, last disclaimer that I promise I'll get to the video. If you enjoy finding good tone, you enjoy improving your tone, making things sound better and clearer and stuff like that, keep doing it. Musicians should find what they love doing and continue to do it. There's enough negativity online. I do not want to add to that. Whatever you enjoy doing as a musician, keep doing it. Does not matter what some dude with 2007 Nickelback hair is telling you on YouTube. If you enjoy making your tone sound better, keep doing it. I'm just telling you where I'm coming from as someone who reviews gear on YouTube quite a bit. And also at the end of this video, I am going to do a giveaway for one of my subscribers. So if you're not subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe. And that's enough of this long intro. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's go over that list. So first of all, number 1 is it usable? This should go without saying. The product has to be usable and sound good. If it doesn't sound good and it's not usable, it doesn't matter how many features it has. There is a product I'm in the process of reviewing right now that has a ton of features. It's really amazing how much this thing does, but there's one massive glitch with it that makes it basically unusable for me. I'm in the process of reviewing it and emailing the company and stuff like that, but if this glitch still exists, it doesn't matter how many features it has. If it sounds terrible, I'm not going to use it. If it's usable and functional and sounds good, I'm going to use it. Should be pretty obvious. That's going to be the shortest part of this video. So second on my list is, does it make the show better? Things with gear can make the show better. I personally have settled on, I love a silent stage. I know some people hate it, some people love it. I personally am on the camp that loves it. I love having direct rigs and in-ear monitors. I truly think that these pieces of gear make the show better. I have the same mix no matter where I am on the stage. My mix is almost always the same because we can save it to our mixer. Way less issues with feedback if you don't use wedges anymore. When I used to use a guitar amp on stage, the number of times that the singer would say, hey, could you turn down a little bit? Hey, could you move the amp back a little bit? Hey, could you tilt the amp just sideways a little bit? Hey, can you just turn the amp off and throw it away, please? I don't have to deal with that anymore since I have a direct rig. I still remember when we first switched over. At shows, it was fantastic. Man, especially at rehearsal spaces, just not having everyone just having to compete in this tiny space, trying to compete with the drummer, and then everyone turns their amp up and the singer having to scream their ear off and close their ears. That gear makes the show better and makes rehearsals better as well. If it makes the show better, I'm more interested in that than does it make my tone sound perfect. So next up, part 3, does it make the show easier? Just this summer alone, I played 19 shows in June, 27 in July, and 20 in August. And these aren't just like 30-minute sets either. They're oftentimes 3 or 4 hour sets. Oftentimes I have to bring PA and lighting. The more you do it, the more you start to realize, okay, what do I not need to bring? and what can make the show an easier setup time and a faster setup time and just make your life easier. What can go, but you still put on a good show. Because again, this is part 3. Part 2 is, does it make the show better? I'm not going to sacrifice the show, but also at the same time, I'm going to realize, hey, is this going to make my life easier and still be able to put on a good show? And I've seen this happen with a lot of musicians the more they start to gig. If they gig like once a month, they're like, oh, I have to bring my full stack, bro. I have to bring my full stack. They start playing more, and they're like, well, maybe I can just do a half stack. Well, maybe I can do a combo amp. Well, maybe I'll do a direct rig, but I'm going to bring a FR speaker. It's not just me. I still see this with other musicians. It's like, how can I simplify my setup the more that you start to do it? One of the singers I work with, he has a great quote. It's, I will play the show for free. You just have to pay me for all the other stuff. It's totally true. The show is the best part. There's just so much involved with setup and teardown and rehearsals and all that stuff. How can I make my life easier for the stuff that isn't quite as fun? So a great example of this is that I personally own the HELIX, the HX Stomp, and the HX Stomp XL. They all sound great, and it's already simpler than having an amp already. But I've actually switched over to the GTRS P800 series by Moore, and the reason why is because this is my pedal now. It is a Bluetooth wireless battery-powered pedal. I program all of my patches onto an app, and it saves to the guitar, and then this is my controller. So it's literally just wireless into the mixer, and this is my pedal board. I have a video going over it if you're interested in it. It's such a cool little system. But I will say this, is that my HELIX does sound better than this system. And this is what I'm talking about. If I lose 10%, 15% of my tone to have the easiest setup ever, Bluetooth battery-powered pedal board, and then wireless direct into a direct box for the mixer, I mean, you can't beat that. And again, with this system, I still have a usable tone. That's part 1. It still sounds good. Do I like my HELIX better? Yes. What's more important to me? The fact that this is such an easy setup. I love that personally. And I've done that in front of some big crowds playing for multiple thousands of people. And that's a good point because the audience really just doesn't care about your tone. And that's a topic that I will address later in the video. I'll bring more gear if it makes the show better. Because remember, better is number 2, easier is number 3. But if it's just a tone thing, I lose 10% of my tone to make my life easier, I'm always in for that. So number 4 is features. This one should be pretty obvious. And if you've watched some of my gear reviews, you'll know that I talk a lot about the features. For example, I've reviewed a ton of wireless products on my channel. To me, I'm always more interested in, hey, how reliable is this wireless going to be because of the features that it has? The more features, the more channels and stuff like that, the more reliable it's going to be. I'm way more interested in that than, oh, it kind of makes my tone sound a little bit darker, or there's a little bit of a cut in the 1K. I just personally just don't care about that. If it sounds usable, that's what I care about. And then how many features it has can allow me to use this in multiple different ways or make it more reliable. Now, this one is interesting because features can lead to a better tone. I just reviewed a battery-powered mixer by Elite Acoustics recently. I love this battery-powered mixer, and part of the reason why is because it has compression, low cut, you can save scenes. There's nice reverb in it. It has a low cut feature. It has a lot of different options to make it sound better than most battery-powered mixers that I've seen. So features can tie into the tone. Little things just like low cuts can just clean up the tone a lot and remove mud and stuff like that. So it's not like I don't care about the tone, and features can lead to a better tone. However, with that mixer, one of the things that I like is that it has scenes that I can save, so I can have a setup save for a duo, setup save for a running sound for a ceremony, and then a setup save for a solo set. And I can save those scenes and recall it next time. That brings me back to part 3. Does it make the show easier? Stuff like that I'm interested in, but features can make the tone sound better. But there are also more things about features, such as making my life easier and making the show better. And then 5th is price. This one should be obvious. Price just always wins over tone. If it makes the show better, it's still usable, makes my life easier, and so on and so forth. The best example that I can think about this is that I have a friend of mine who says, you have to get the MIDAS mixer over the Behringer mixers. He's like, the preamps, dude, the preamps are so much better than the Behringer one. He enjoys that. That's something that he enjoys doing. I'm not going to knock him for that. But for me, I'm just like, I'd rather save $200 than have better preamps when the Behringer preamps sound great. I've used them a long time. I use a ton of Behringer stuff that sound great. And I've used the MIDAS ones as well. I personally don't hear a difference. So if I did hear a difference, it would have to be a pretty drastic difference to get me to spend more money. As long as it's usable, that's what I care about. If there's more features with it, then I'm more interested. But if it's just better preamps, and that's such a subjective thing anyways, I personally would rather just save a little bit of money, which is why price is number 5 and then tone is number 6. So does this mean that there's no tones out there that I just absolutely love? No, I still have my favorite tones. My PRS on the wall back here, I love the way that sounds. My Babbitt's acoustic Spider back here, I love the way that guitar sounds. The band Sleep Token has the best drum tones ever. They did a performance of the song Hypnosis, and they did an instrumental performance video, and those drums sound so good. Clearly people had to take the time to make that sound good, and I as a musician truly enjoyed it. So there's a spot for tone and stuff like that. I've been a HELIX user since it came out, like the day that it came out, or as soon as it was available, I pre-ordered it. I've used it forever. I love the HELIX. My favorite amp modeler plugin is the Neural DSP Pliny plugin, and that is now available on the Quad Cortex. Is it worth it for me to spend the money to get a Quad Cortex when I have 3 of the HELIX devices already? That's up to you to decide. The HELIX is completely usable. I'm very happy with the tones in it. My favorite one is by Neural DSP. It's up to you to make that decision if you want to spend the money to get that. And then Electro Voice makes my favorite speakers. I always am a fan of EV speakers. And this brings me to a good point and how it kind of ties into like gear reviews. I've reviewed the Everse series by Electro Voice. I reviewed the Mackie Showbox, and I've reviewed the Bose S1. Those are all battery powered point source speakers. And I do often get asked which one sounds the best. To me, my answer is going to be EV because EV makes the best sounding speakers in my opinion. All the other ones are still usable. EV is my favorite. I also have a friend who loves Bose speakers and he buys basically everything Bose. In my opinion, what you should look at are the features and what you need. The Everse series has a really cool feature for like a tray that you can put on the top to have a wireless and a rain resistant cover. That's great for ceremonies. The Bose S1 has 2 wireless built into it. So if you want wireless, you should go with that one. And then the Mackie Showbox has like a 6-channel mixer that comes out and you can attach it to your mic stand or put it wherever, or you can just leave it in the speaker. Those are 3 very different features that they have. So you should look at the features and decide which one is best for you. So anytime I get asked which one sounds the best, it's like, well, this one, but that's not really what's most important in my opinion, because tone is so subjective. And brings me to my last point. The audience truly just does not care about the tone. This is such a hot topic for some reason. Some musicians just refuse to believe that. They say the audience deserves the best show possible. They do, I agree, but they're more interested in being entertained than they are on how perfect your tone is. You know who cares about tone? Other musicians and other sound guys. The casual listener cares if it's too loud or too quiet. If they can't hear your vocals or something like that, they notice that. If there's feedback, they notice that. If something is very heavily distorted, they will notice that. But beyond, is it too loud, too quiet? Is there feedback or is there distortion? The audience really doesn't notice that big of a difference. The only time I'm ever asked about like gear at a show or something like that, and I love geeking out about gear, FYI, but anytime that it happens, anytime I get to geek out with someone, it's always another musician or a sound guy. There's not a casual listener out there going, oh, what is that? What's that new pedal that you got? The audience truly just doesn't care about your tone. They really don't. They want to be entertained. I reviewed the digital wireless system by Sennheiser recently, and I brought it to a show that we played for about 50 to 60,000 people. And I guarantee you, no one in the crowd was going, oh, wow, he must have switched to a digital wireless system. You can really hear that there's a 20 to 20 full frequency response range. And because it's digital, he doesn't have to hit a compander and it sounds really clear, just like a cable. If my wireless cut out, they would have heard that. They wouldn't hear the difference if you're using an original Klon pedal or a model of a Klon pedal. They wouldn't hear that you have the MIDAS preamps versus the Behringer preamps. They wouldn't hear a difference if you're using a $200 direct box or a $30 direct box. They're not going to hear a difference if you're using an amp versus a modeler, or if your tracks are wave or MP3, or the type of wood your guitar is made out of. They truly aren't. They're there to be entertained. The most common response to this is, well, I care about my tone. Absolutely. If it makes you perform better and makes the show better because you like the sound and you have more confidence because your tone sounds good, keep doing it. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm obsessed with wireless because of my hatred of cables and my obsession of having a clean stage. And I feel better in my performance when I'm wireless, even if it's on a small stage and I'm not moving around much. I like that freedom of not having cables under my feet and not being tethered to things. That puts me in a better place for a show. If you enjoy it, keep doing it. But don't pretend like the audience is truly going to know this. The casual listener is not going to tell a difference between these things. They want to be entertained. I also reviewed some really cheap PA systems by ProRec recently. And that one, I would get some kind of douchey sound guy comments in those saying, oh, there's no way you could gig with these. This is just such a joke. I did. 7 different shows I gigged with these. Nobody complained. Everyone was happy. They all wanted to book us again. Even on a cheap PA system, the audience just does not listen to that. Other sound guys and other musicians who care about tone are the only ones who care about that. Audience doesn't care about tone. They want to be entertained. So what do you do with this information? And how do I deal with tone? I personally just don't obsess over it. When I get a new piece of gear, I'm going to understand how it works, and I'm going to dial in a tone that sounds good. I'm going to use it live a few times, make some adjustments, realize that, you're going to have to make some adjustments once you hear it in a mix. That's another thing, is people always want to hear something dry, but it's like you really need to hear it in a mix. Make some adjustments, and then I personally don't touch it for a while. I readjusted my tones recently, but mostly it was just getting them balanced. I had an issue where some of my balance was off on my levels, so I went and adjusted that, but I didn't really change the tones very much because I'm very happy with the tones that I have. But then I'm going to focus on other things that I'm more interested in. I'm also interested in like the theatrics of a show instead of does it sound great or does it sound perfect. Obviously, you can do both. You can have a very entertaining show and still sound good. But I'm always more interested in the theatrics of a show. My original music that I do, it's just me and a looper, but I have, a dialogue and a story that go with it. There's characters. There's a light show that syncs up. I have different masks that I wear and I switch out throughout the show. But even before that, with like my old band, we were called Glass Delirium. And some of my favorite shows are where we did things like we had dancers during like interludes, or we extended parts of songs where I did like a solo battle with my violin player or my keyboard player. Or we did like projection mapping, and we projected images onto like these diamonds. Or at our CD release, we started with our singer in front of a curtain for the soft intro, and then opened the curtains when the big part of the song came in, or bringing everybody up on the stage to do the choir part of a song. Stuff like that I've always been more interested in. I have a old video on my channel of me performing with the Source Audio Hot Hand. It's like an expression controller that you put as a ring. So I had it so up would be a pitch shift up, and then down would be pitch shift down. And I did like a solo to an intro to one of our songs, and the lights would sync up to it. That made the show more theatrical, and that's always something I've been more interested in personally. I'm always interested in being more entertaining than does my tone sound perfect. I would rather find a good usable tone and then focus on those other things that I'm interested in. There's more to just gear and life in general than just tone and finding the most perfect tone out there. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. It does a ton to help out the channel and feed the YouTube algorithm gods, so I would appreciate it. Some of the gear that I do use, I will link down below in the comments as well if you want to check out some of the gear that I do use. That does make my shows better and easier and is very usable. So like I mentioned, I am going to do a giveaway to one of my subscribers. So I'm going to give away this direct rig right here. This is by Donner. This is the Arena 2000. I did a video on this one. I reviewed it quite a while ago. They actually gave me two. They did this one and then one for a giveaway. And I actually just messaged the subscriber who won the giveaway originally. Their singer is still using this system for like 2 years. So it's a completely usable one. If you're a tone purist, it might not be for you, but this is a completely usable one. And I'm in a fortunate position where I am blessed to be able to try out a lot of gear. If it's something that I don't use much or I could find a better home for, I'd rather give it back to you guys. So this giveaway is only for subscribers. So if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And then to enter this giveaway, you just have to leave a comment down below using the magic phrase. You can say whatever you want down below, just as long as at some point you say the magic phrase. And the magic phrase for this one is "Baby Got Back." One of my subscribers has been asking for this to be the magic phrase for a while. It's about time that I gave it to him. So here you go. The magic phrase is "Baby Got Back." You only have 24 hours to enter the giveaway, and I will announce the winner on this date right here. Please remember, do not respond to scammers. Scammers will sometimes show up when I do these giveaways. I will never, ever, ever ask you for money, not for shipping, nothing like that. Whatever clever reason that the scammers give, that is 100% a scam, no ifs, ands, or buts. So please do not fall for scammers. So thank you guys again for watching. Check out my video on that guitar that I was talking about, the one that has this as the pedal board, that GTRS by Moore. Really cool system. And then I have a full wireless buying guide if you're interested in that. But if you want to find out what the difference is between cheap and high-end wireless, check out that video. So you can check out both of those videos by clicking the links on your screen now. Thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Scott Yule Music. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts on tone. Let me know what you think about it. Thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.